Well, that's a wrap on Season 4 of Invincible. And holy shit, dude, I kinda loved this one. It wasn't perfect, but man, were the highs this season truly something to behold. This show branches out in a lot of different directions in terms of the conflicts Mark has to face. But the truth is, none of them hit quite as hard as the battle against the Viltrum Empire. So to get a season that's completely dedicated to that in 5 of its 8 episodes, oh man, that's what I'm talking about. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoy a lot of the other conflicts in the show. I'm not someone who's itching to get to the next Omni-Man development with zero interest in what happens in between. But man, do his relationships with his family make for some absolutely fantastic drama. His reunion with Debbie was everything I could have hoped for. Sandra Oh's performance in this scene is phenomenal, Emmy-worthy stuff. I'm so glad they tweaked it a bit from the comics, since it makes complete sense that this version of Debbie wouldn't forgive Nolan at this point. It's a truly phenomenal moment from a writing and acting standpoint. Maybe not a visual standpoint, but we'll get to that. I loved seeing Nolan get an entire episode to bond with Oliver, someone he didn't even want to meet, but he ends up finally being a bit of a decent father towards. I love seeing Alan get more focus and grow into his unexpected role as a leader. Seth Rogen is seriously killing it with the voice performance. It's crazy how good he can be when given actual direction. And Peter Cullen's voice as Thetis rules. It's so commanding and satisfying on the ears. Pretty much everyone in the main cast does a great job, even though you don't need so many celebrities and you should probably save your budget for okay, I'll get to that soon enough. The Conquest fight was awesome, and I felt so much more emotional weight than I did the first time, now that he and Mark have a history together. Damn, that was crazy. I didn't really have crazy expectations for Thrag. He kinda just looks like a normal Viltrumite to me. But man, he kinda lived up to the legend power-wise. And I really enjoyed Lee Pace's cold, calculated delivery. It's different than you'd expect from a genocidal warlord, but eventually I really came around to what he was doing. I really liked the flow in the back half of the season. They're all focused on Viltrum, but episodes 5 and 7 are the action-packed ones, while 6 and 8 are more character-focused. Absolutely perfect pacing. I didn't really know if I was up for another action-y Viltrumite showdown in the final episode, but the quiet dread of the Viltrumites living among us and breeding was just as impactful as them taking over Earth the normal way. I know this is all in the comics, and I did start reading them, but I'm kinda jumping around. I didn't get to this part. I was a bit more interested in whatever the Robot gets up to later. Speaking of which, I also really liked the 2 normal episodes this season. The Flaxen conflict was pretty tense, as was the stuff with the Sequids and seeing Mark kill a guy to stop them. I don't know if we got that much of a conclusion to this arc for him though. I mean, maybe we could have really centered on the storm of emotions inside of him in episode 4, and we kinda got some of that, but yeah, I don't think it was conveyed super well. It felt a bit melodrama-ish, as Mark had to deal with a completely unrelated situation to his actual issues. Yeah, let's discuss the problems with this season. But before I go, I want to tell you guys how I'm saving up for another vacation. Maybe one in space to go see my injured purple sun a billion light years away. Tragically though, my wallet is not... I wish I could save my money and optimize my spending. Oh wait, I have today's sponsor, Rocket Money. Rocket Money is an easy-to-use app that helps you save more and manage your money better. As someone who has trouble staying on top of managing my finances, Rocket Money makes it simple by providing a single, high-level view of my finances. I don't have to log into several accounts anymore just to stay up to date. It's all thanks to Rocket Money's great bird's-eye view of your finances in a single app, with both high-level and in-depth account insights. And oh man, is canceling unwanted subscriptions with Rocket Money just the bee's knees. Rocket Money is a great way to stay on top of the subscriptions I have, and it can help cancel them with just a few taps. It saves a lot of time and hassle of canceling them myself. Go to rocketmoney.com/jfrillis to start your free premium trial. You can also scan the QR code or click the link in my description. That's rocketmoney.com/jfrillis. Have fun saving your money for that trip to space. That might be too expensive, actually. Despite being pretty great overall, there's this one pesky episode that drags the whole thing down a bit. I really didn't like the Hell episode. A complete waste of time story-wise? Yeah, but I can honestly live with that. I don't really consider filler episodes to be a bad thing, as long as they're fun and do neat stuff with the characters. So I really don't want to get on this episode's case for being filler, I want to get on its case for being bad. It is shockingly boring, with a conflict I have zero emotional investment in, and scenes that go on for way longer than they need to, with a ton of awkward pauses. That scene where it's just Mark and Damien falling for like 3 minutes? Bro, give me a break. See, most episodes that aren't super consequential status quo shattering ones cut back and forth to B and C plots. This is a great case study for how awry the show can go without them, because the pacing is just awful when you can't cut away from this monotonous misadventure. I'm not really the biggest fan of the Mr. Liu subplot either, but I'm not gonna say his episode this season was one of the worst in the whole show, because it cut away to other plot lines that didn't feel like a slog as a result. No amount of Bruce Campbell being kinda fun as Satan could save what is bar none the show's weakest episode. It feels so shoehorned in, probably because it is. It was based on a scrap storyline from the comics that Robert Kirkman really wanted to finally bring to life. Good for him, but I really wish he hadn't. Without the benefit of being organically woven into the comic storyline, it feels out of place when inserted into the show. Ah well, everyone's already complained about this episode. I just wanted to make it clear that my complaints don't come from a place of it being filler. I just didn't like it because it was boring as shit. One other thing I really can't stand with the show that kind of started in season 3 is how lobotomized Eve's character feels. She was one of the coolest members of the cast initially, and now she's kind of just the girlfriend. There are so many scenes where the two of them are just sitting on roofs and talking. How many times are they gonna do that? Her entire plot this season is coping with the fact that she's pregnant and not knowing how to tell Mark. She can't even confide in a girlfriend of hers. She needs to talk to William about it. Well, they say this is William, but that's not Andrew Rannell's illustrious voice. Who are you and what did you do with William? I don't know. Sometimes it kind of feels like Debbie is the only woman this show knows how to write well. It can't be that hard, can it? I know with Eve, we're just following what she did at this point in the comics. But again, they made some good changes to Debbie. I just don't know why Eve has to be this way. And finally, I've saved the most contentious thing for last. Let's talk about the animation. Yeah, I'm starting to see where the detractors are coming from. This show looks needlessly low budget a lot of the time. And once you start to notice that, you can't really stop. Eventually, I started laughing as all the PNGs of characters flying were dragged across the screen. Like I said earlier, Sandra Oh was giving an absolutely incredible vocal performance when she yells at Nolan. But it starts to feel a little awkward when there's barely any movement or expression coming from her character. I saw some people say, well, did you expect her to do flips or something? No man, I just wanted her face and body movements to convey anger a little better. It's not exactly a difficult ask. Obviously, the show can look really good when it wants to. Like, they clearly saved a lot of the animation budget for the Conquest fight. But I feel like I would much prefer consistency over these high highs mixed with low lows. Some people have suggested that maybe Amazon would have the money and the budget for good animation if they didn't hire celebrities to voice act every little role. But I'm honestly not sure if that's how that works. I have no idea, so I might just be saying shit. But I feel like the animators just don't have as much time to work on some of these scenes, since new seasons consistently keep coming out every year. And here's the thing, I've given it a lot of thought, and if the weaker animation really is the trade-off in order to get this show releasing at a consistent rate, then I think I'm kind of okay with that. Animation is taking longer and longer to produce, and there's a lot that needs to be adapted in this show. So it's nice to know that we might actually get it all in a reasonable time frame. I can completely see the other side of the argument though. If you would prefer they take longer for these episodes to look nicer, I can't even blame you. But I am going to make the controversial statement that I think the show looks fine. The animation has never been laughably awful to me. It's not a looker, but pretty much every scene functions enough visually for me to be perfectly content with it. As long as it doesn't get any worse, this is a fine baseline to continue working from. The writing and voice acting are strong enough to carry this show a considerable amount. I can't say I wasn't glued to my seat during the entire latter half of the season, regardless of how goofy a lot of the floating PNG flying scenes looked. At the end of the day, I think this is the best season since season 1. I loved a lot of the stuff in 2 and 3, like the Angstrom-Levy arc and the Mark vs. Cecil beef, but finally seeing the show fully follow up on the amazing threads left by the season 1 finale was incredible. This was the first season I felt that Nolan truly earned his redemption. But at the same time, I loved how Debbie still refused to give him a chance after everything he did. His scenes trying to make amends with everyone are really emotionally potent, and the conflict with Thrag absolutely ruled. Yeah, the season had problems, and God, I wish this show was a looker. But you know what? It is nice to know that we won't have to wait 3 years to see what happens next on screen. And they probably got that hell stuff out of their system and we don't need to follow up on it too much, right? Please? You know what? I'm feeling generous. I'm giving this season a 9 out of 10. I could definitely be persuaded to bump it down to an 8.5, but no lower. This absolutely ruled. Good night, Viltrum. Ooh, too soon.